Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Masters Picks Breakdown episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. I talked to you the other night when I was doing my Masters deep dive, and I said on Tuesday night there's a good chance that I'm going to give you guys just really all my picks for the 2024 Masters. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I talked on this podcast that there might be an episode for March Madness. I planned on potentially doing after a few drinks. I thought that the Friday of the first round, I thought I was going to come home after 12 days of watching college basketball at the Barclays Center and have a few drinks in me and then record a podcast. That didn't happen, even though I had a lot of people in my DM saying, Ian, please do the Blackout Drunk podcast. We need it. That didn't happen because I was too exhausted. I'm here to tell you if there's ever going to be a version of a Blackout, and I'm not Blackout, but if there's ever to be a version of a Blackout or Drunk podcast episode of the Bacon Bets podcast, it's now. So congrats. Here you go. The several people who messaged me on DM saying we need a drunk podcast. Here it is, because this is Tuesday night. I said I was going to do a podcast. I'm doing a podcast. I got home about an hour and a half ago from the Devils against the Maple Leafs, and this is why I'm not just randomly drunk on a Tuesday night. But I went to the Devils and the Maple Leafs. My fiance is gone on a work trip in Miami, so I was here by myself. I figured, hey, you know what would be a good time to spend by myself would be to go to the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, and watch my Maple Leafs play. So I went and had a few more drinks than I kind of intended, to be completely honest. I was going to have one or two turn into a few more than one or two. And then I got home about an hour and a half ago, and I was doing up my notes for this podcast. And, you know, those few that I had at the Prudential Center turned into a few more. So here I am. It is now midnight here on the East Coast. Big win for the Leafs, 5-2. Listen, I got high hopes for my Maple Leafs. When we got Austin Matthews, and once again, this is going to be a golf podcast. I'm going to be giving out all my picks for the Masters, but just let me rant for a little bit here. When we got Austin Matthews, the first few years when we would head in the playoffs, immediately from the start of the season, I'd be like, all right, we're gonna win the Stanley Cup. Then there was a few years where like I wasn't super convinced, but then by like a third of the way into the season, I was like, yeah, we're gonna win the Stanley Cup. Then the past few years, it wasn't until like January and then halfway through the year, be like, we're gonna win the Stanley Cup. This year, me being a veteran Leafs fan, a veteran Falcons fan, a veteran Blue Jays fan, I knew what was gonna happen was the Maple Leafs would make the playoffs and then blow it, and then it'd be Heartbreak City. So going into this year as a Maple Leafs fan, I was like, the Maple Leafs are not going to win the cup. We're going to make the playoffs. We're going to lose in either the first, best case scenario, second round. There's no reason to get excited about the Leaf season. And then what happened? It's game 78. I go to New Jersey. I sit there in the stands and I watch the Maple Leafs play, and I convince myself, this is a team that can win the Stanley Cup. Now, to be fair, this isn't like the first time I watched the Leafs live this year. I watched them Madison Square Garden against the Rangers, I think in early December. They won. The second period was very bad, but, you know, to me, that was kind of on par for previous iterations of the Leafs. Then I went and watched the Leafs play against the Islanders out on Long Island in mid-January, I want to say it was. And that was one of the worst hockey games I've ever seen a professional team play. And I was like, oh, this Leafs team is exactly what I thought it was. But tonight, in New Jersey, and this is a Leafs team that over the last 25 games has played very well. And tonight in New Jersey, that looked like a Stanley Cup winning team. I'm in. I'm all in. It took me 78 games to get to this point. Usually it's by game like 30. This season, it took me to game 78, but I am now once again all in on my Toronto Maple Leafs. I think they're available like 14-1 if you want to bet on them. They might do it. But this is not a hockey podcast. I'm going to do an NHL playoffs preview before the playoffs start. I think there's about 8 days. The 18th, I believe, is the last game of the last day of the regular season, so that's next Thursday. So I will do a podcast of some sort before the playoffs start. Just give my overall preview for the Stanley Cup playoffs. This is my second of two Masters previews. I did a podcast Sunday night where I just gave my deep dive into my general thoughts about the Masters. I gave you guys some of my futures that I've placed. And now on this episode, I'm just gonna rip through the bets that I've placed. And I have placed, let me just count them really quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 tournament bets, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 first round 3-ball bets. So that's a lot of bets. So I'm just going to rip through them, to be honest. Like I said, I've had a couple drinks. I'm going to be honest, my friends. I've had a couple drinks tonight. I'm not going to edit this podcast. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm not going to put the intro song in it. I'm not going to put the Simpsons clip in it. It's already 12:09 Eastern. I don't have time to now edit this podcast and do all that extra stuff. I don't have a producer. I edit and produce this podcast all by myself. So I'm just going to take the raw video from this recording and the raw audio and then upload it. So no intro. What I'm going to say before I get into my picks, and no graphics either. If you're watching this on YouTube, no graphics either. What I'm going to say before I get into it is that please sign up for the 5 and Done golf major season pool that I'm hosting. I know I've brought it up the past couple podcasts, but please join it. There is a 300 person limit. It's up to 47 right now. But even if we get like 100 people, no matter how many people we get in it, the pool is going to be live. So don't worry about that. Just join it. Compete against me in this 5 and Done, and try to win some money. I guarantee you, because I'm a golf mastermind, I will beat all of you in this 5 and Done pool through the golf major season. So try to compete against me. So go ahead and join that. I'll put the link for that in the description of both the audio version of this podcast and the YouTube description. It would mean a lot for me if you join that and try to compete against me. $25 buy-in, up to 300 people. But it's going to run regardless, no matter how many people we get into it. That's all I have to say about that. But like I said, no intro to this podcast. We're just going to dive into it because I'm just recording the raw video, the raw audio, and then I'm going to upload it. I got a beer I'm going to take a sip of. On my way home, I dropped into my local craft beer store and I picked up a couple. I think this is a stout of some sort. I didn't look at the can to see where it came from. But I've become a big stout and porter guy. I will say, since moving to New York, and there are a lot of things I love about New York City. A lot of things that New York City obviously does better than Nova Scotia, Canada. One of the things that New York City in general does not do well is beer. I've gone to a lot of craft beer bars in New York City, ones that are like their actual, like, it's what is it in Brooklyn? KCBC? Like, people who, like, the craft beer bars who, like, they produce or own craft beer. I will tell you what. I don't know if it's just incompetence or if just New Yorkers love their IPAs. I think it's more so the craft beer places in New York City are like 10, 15 years behind the craft beer places on the East Coast of Canada. But it's a lot of fucking IPAs. One of my first dates I went on with my now fiance. So this would have been late 2021. We were at a craft beer place. And she asked me to go just get her like a fruity, hoppy IPA. And I went up to the front and I said, yeah, can I, like, what do you guys recommend for like a fruity IPA of yours? And the guy said, that's all we have. Literally, that's what he said. Oh, you don't have any stouts, you don't have any porters, you don't have any reds, you don't have any browns, you don't have any pilsners? No. All we have is fruity, fresh IPAs. New York, get your shit together. And it hasn't improved much to this point now in 2024. When I go to a craft beer place, now there are some that have porters and stouts, but they're from places that are outside of New York City. There's one down the street from me. The whole vibe is like Viking, Icelandic kind of craft beer. And you know what their best beers are that they have? They have a ton of beers from New York and New Jersey and Connecticut. You know what their best craft beers are? Icelandic porters and stouts. I don't know what it is about New York because I've been to several craft beer places and other bars that then serve New York and, you know, tri-state area craft beers. You guys can't make beer. You can't make beer. They all fucking suck. Even I've had a few like brown ales from around this area. They fucking suck. What are you guys doing? You make pizza really good. You make bagels really good. Being able to go to professional sporting events is unbelievable. But you know what you can't do in New York City? Make a fucking tasty beer. I don't want to drink a 6% IPA. What is this? 2008? I don't want a hoppy IPA. What is this? 15 years ago? Catch up with the times. Nobody's drinking hoppy IPAs anymore. You got to drink a stout. You got to drink a red ale. You got to drink an amber ale. You got to drink a brown ale. Nobody wants to get, you know, their taste buds ripped out from a hoppy IPA. What are we doing, New York City? You want some good beer? Go to Nova Scotia. Even their domestic beers. You want to talk Moosehead. You want to talk Alpine. You want to talk Schooner, my personal favorite domestic beer. And that's just the domestic beers. You then want to get into, you know, the local craft beers. The oatmeal stout from some places in Nova Scotia are unbelievable. Breton Brewery in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. Their red beer is the best red beer I've ever tasted. You want to even go down to the valley. You want to go to the church. I forget what it's called. It's a church. Their craft beer place is located in an old church that now doesn't exist because East Coast of Canada, it's not a very religious place anymore. So all the old churches are now craft beer places. You want to go to that place. Get some good beers. What are you guys doing in New York City? You have 8 billion people in New York City. Find 5 that know how to make a beer. This is what you get. You DM me and you say, Ian, we need a blackout podcast. This is what you get. I haven't even talked about the Masters yet. I've gone on a 15-minute rant about beer. But I'm going to be honest. I've had a lot of beer in my lifetime. I think I'm kind of a beer guy. New York doesn't know how to do it. Now, if you are a beer person and you're from a place not New York, give me recommendations. Because New York doesn't really know how to do it. I will give credit to the craft beer place that's like down the block from me. That they have some nice craft beer from outside of New York, but they're expensive. So I splurged tonight. I got a couple non-New York craft beer. And I have a stout that I'm drinking right now. It's pretty good. But like if I see New York, when I look at a craft beer can, I see New York, I'm gonna pass. I'm sorry. And it's I wish it was good. I wish it was good. Excuse me. Not going to edit that out. Not going to edit that out. Let's get into some Masters picks, my friends. So here are my futures. And I'm already seeing in my notes I've left with someone out. So I'm just going to add them in. Here are my futures. And if you listen to my Deep Dive podcast, which in terms of betting content is probably a better product than what I'm going to give you right now, because tonight I'm just going to give you my bets. I have a future on Wyndham Clark at 48-1. Do I like Wyndham Clark? No, because I think he might have peaked. He might have peaked about a month too early. But at 48-1, I like that ticket. Right now, I think he's 28 to 1. Don't like it. And I talked about this on the other episode, so I'm not going to dive too deep into it. But Wyndham Clark is a roller coaster kind of guy. So I know he hasn't had his last 1 or 2 starts, not great. But he is a guy who will have like 2 bad starts and then 2 amazing starts and then 2 bad starts. So a 48 to 1 ticket, I like it. Should you bet Wyndham Clark now at like 28 to 1? No. So why do I talk about it? Because I'm just going to let you know what I have. Hideki Matsuyama, the 2021 Masters champion. I have him at 28 to 1. I think he's available. I think the highest price is 22 to 1. At 22 to 1, I would probably still bet him. At 20 to 1, I would probably still sprinkle a little bit on him. I think some books have him at 18 to 1. Anything shorter than 18 to 1, shorter than 20 to 1, I would not bet him. 20 to 1 or longer, I'd probably still sprinkle. I have him at 28 to 1. I wrote an article about it last week, tweeted it out. If he didn't tail that pick, I don't know what to tell you, because he was widely available at 28 to 1 last week, and now the best price is 22 to 1. Brooks Koepka is my one futures pick that I made. That was not good. Two of the 3 I made were good. Wyndham Clark was good. Hideki Matsuyama good. Both much shorter price now than what they were when I bet them. Brooks Koepka I bet at 20 to 1. I assumed he was going to have a very good week at Live Miami like he did last year. He did not this year though. So I got him at 20 to 1. I think there's a 22 to 1 available. So if you want to go Brooks Koepka just for that little bit of insurance, where Brooks Koepka, you know what you don't want is you don't want Brooks Koepka to shoot 6 under on Thursday and then be like, why the fuck didn't I bet Brooks Koepka? Which is the situation I've been in several times in the past 5 years. I will personally not be in that situation this year. I took him 20 to 1. I wouldn't bet him at shorter than 20 to 1, but I think 20 to 1 is widely available, and I think 22 to 1 I think is out there somewhere. The other guy I bet Xander Schauffele. He is currently available. I think 14 to 1 might be his best price out there. I bet him 18 to 1. I don't understand why people, including sharps, obviously, if the line has moved, are betting on Xander Schauffele. Have we not learned that lesson? Did we not learn that lesson in 2019 when he finished T2 to Tiger? Did we not learn that lesson in 2021 when he had a chance to beat Hideki Matsuyama and on the 16th hole he put the ball in the water? Have we not learned that lesson when he has choked away finishes almost more than anyone else in the PGA Tour the past 6 years? Apparently I haven't, because I bet on him at 18 to 1. But he has now gone down in price at 14 to 1. I somehow have a sharp price on Xander Schauffele to win a major at 18 to 1. It doesn't make any sense to me. But at the same time, it makes sense. The reason why, if there's ever a time for Xander Schauffele to win a major, it's right now. Because his form is arguably some of the best form he's ever been in. Total strokes gained on the PGA Tour, it is Scotty Scheffler number 1, and it is Xander Schauffele number 2. Secondly, Xander Schauffele has a great history at the Masters, outside of not winning, because I'm aware, because I've bet on him every year since 2019. He has a very good finish in 2019, a very good finish in 2021, and some other solid finishes. Don't have it in front of me right now. I'm sure I can bring it up. I'll just bring it up. But generally, I mean, personally, if I were to ever bet on Xander Schauffele to win a major, it would be at the Masters. Xander Schauffele at the Masters finished T2 in 2019, which is when I started my Xander Schauffele campaign. T17, that was the 2020 year in November. T3 in 2021, that was the Hideki year. He did somehow miss the cut in 2022, which if he misses the cut this year, I'll fucking kill him. Not really. Disclaimer, I'm joking. And then T10 last year. If there's ever a year for Xander Schauffele, it's this year. Yeah, I didn't write that. Okay. Yeah, so Xander Schauffele 18 to 1. I didn't put it in my notes for some reason. I guess I just brought that off the top of my head. And then Russell Henley, I talked about this the last podcast on Sunday night because I placed this bet live. You guys saw me look at Russell Henley's number and then be like, I bet him at 70 to 1. The best price as of this afternoon was at FanDuel. He was 65 to 1 still. Let me see if he is still available at 65 to 1 as of recording this at 12:23 past midnight. So technically Wednesday morning. Let me see what Russell Henley, because 65 to 1 was the best price on the market, and he is still 65 to 1. So if you want to bet on Russell Henley, the best price for him is at FanDuel, 65 to 1. I got him at 70 to 1. He reminds me, and I talked about this on Green on the Greens earlier this afternoon. When I was looking through Russell Henley, if you haven't yet, go and watch the deep dive that I recorded Sunday night. When I started looking through Russell Henley's numbers, it reminded me of when I started looking through Brian Harman's numbers at the Open Championship last year. Because much like Brian Harman, I was not going into this week thinking, I'm going to bet on Russell Henley. But then it was a name that I was just like, let me see what Russell Henley's doing. And then I looked through the boxes that I would want to check for a guy I'm going to bet on. And it's like, that's a check mark. That's a check mark. That's a check mark. I'm going to bet on Russell Henley. Is this the same thing with Brian Harman last year at the Open? It was like 120 to 1, I think it was that I bet on him. And it was like, I didn't have any intention of betting on Brian Harman, but then I looked at it as, Brian Harman at links courses. Great history. Check. Brian Harman. Recent form. Check. Brian Harman at the Open has had some decent results. Check. It's the same thing with Russell Henley. Recent performances. And I'm not going to get into it. You can go and listen to Sunday's podcast, but recent performances. Check. Actually, decent Masters year. T4 last season. Check. Ball striking. Check. Russell Henley, 70 to 1. Now, is he going to win? Probably not. But heading into the Open Championship last year, would I have said Brian, even though I bet on him at 120 to 1, would I have said Brian Harman is probably going to win this major? No. I was like, Brian Harman's probably not going to win, but 120 to 1 for this guy doesn't make sense. And this is the same thing with Russell Henley. Is he going to win the Masters? Most likely not. But does he deserve to be 70 to 1? No. And if Data Golf actually agreed with me, Data Golf has him ranked above a ton of guys. If you look at Data Golf's, for anyone who has a Data Golf account that they pay for, Russell Henley's like way above where his odds indicate. Russell Henley's right behind Wyndham Clark and above. According to Data Golf, Russell Henley has a better chance of winning than Dustin Johnson, Patrick Hanley, Adam Scott, Justin Thomas, Tyrrell Hatton, Siwoo Kim, Shane Lowry, Corey Connors, Jason Day. Like, I'm not going to go count down this list, but just eyeing it. Like, he's like a 15th to 20th best chance of winning the Masters, and he's 71. Once again, very good chance Russell Henley does not win this Masters. But if I were to point to someone at this Masters who reminds me the most of Brian Harman last year before the Open, before he won it at 120 to 1, the guy I'd point at is Russell Henley at 70 to 1. For sure. 100%. So those are my futures. Wyndham Clark, and I'm realizing now, because I'm looking down at how long I've been recording this for, 23 minutes. I've had some drinks tonight. I'm 23 minutes into this podcast, and I'm 4 futures in. Not good. Iain, speed it up a little bit. Wyndham Clark, 48 to 1. Hideki Matsuyama, 28 to 1. Brooks Koepka, 20 to 1. Russell Henley, 70 to 1. Those are all my futures, and it doesn't really help you a whole lot because a lot of those aren't available anymore. So then the next question would be, Iain, if you were to bet on the current odds as of 12:27 a.m. in the early mornings of Wednesday, who would you bet on? I don't think I'd bet Xander 14 to 1. I'm looking at it now, which is why there's for the audio listeners, there's silence because I'm looking at the odds list and I'm trying to give you a pick right now. I think based on the current odds, as of 12:27, it just turned to Wednesday. I think the pick I would give you is Matt Fitzpatrick at 40 to 1. I have a bet on Matt Fitzpatrick at plus 600 top 5. All my futures, the odds aren't available anymore. I think still Russell Henley 65-1, sure. But the other guys, I mean, Brooks Koepka, I don't even love him right now. I wish he had a better performance at Live Miami. And Hideki, you can't get his price. Wyndham, you can't get his price. Based on current prices, I'm seeing a Matt Fitzpatrick 40-1 at DraftKings, and he might be better at somewhere else. I just have DraftKings in front of me. If you were to put a gun in my head and say, Ian, best value right now, Matt Fitzpatrick 41. I'm not betting on him to win. I have him top 5 at plus 650. That is ties included. Top 5 for Matt Fitzpatrick. His driving has become a lot better since you remember that there was a weight in his driver. His ball striking has been great his past couple starts. He's had put a couple good starts in his last couple of starts. He's had a couple of good performances in his last couple of starts is what I meant to say. He's had a pretty solid history at Augusta National, at the Masters. So right now, as of Wednesday at 12:29 a.m., I would say Matt Fitzpatrick is what I think is my favorite value bet. I'm taking Brian Harman top 20 plus 160. Brian Harman, lefty, which is big at the Masters, decent Masters history, very good ball striking numbers lately. Obviously, very, very good short game. I'll take him top 20 plus 160. I'm taking Russell Henley. I already told you 70-1. I'm also going to take him top 10 plus 450. And these odds that I am citing are ties paid in full. If you want to bet ties paid in full, BetMGM, all of their placings are tied pays in full. DraftKings, I've noticed this week, has separate markets. They have placings where dead heat rules apply, and then they have placings all tied pays in full. I would highly recommend betting all ties paid in full because I have seen in my personal experience, the ties paid in full happen more often than you think, and I would sacrifice like 10 cents of value to then get ties paid in full, personally. So Brian Harman, top 20 plus 160. Russell Henley, top 10 plus 450. Matt Fitzpatrick, top 5, 6-1. I also like Harris English, top 30 plus 130. Now that is dead heat rules apply. BetMGM has top 20 and then top 40. The top 40 is like minus 130. I don't love that for Harris English. So I went DraftKings, dead heat rules apply for Harris English, top 30 plus 130. Not a great performance of Valero, but his 3 performances before that were very good. He's been consistent at the Masters. Not great, but consistent. So I do like Harris English top 30 this week. A couple other prop bets. I got to wrap this up before the beer takes too much of a hold of me. Cheers. I don't have too many more. Austin Eckroat. I like him as a top debutant at 18-1. You could go Akshay Bhatia. I wouldn't argue against. You could go Ludwig, who maybe I would argue against because I think he's one of the most overvalued golfers in terms of the betting market out there. Love Ludwig. I think he's going to have a great career. I think he's a very, very, very good golfer. But when we're talking about value and we're talking about the betting market compared to where his odds actually should be, I think Ludwig is one of the most overvalued golfers on the PGA Tour right now. I don't want people to listen to that and think I'm a Ludwig hater because I actually do really like Ludwig, and I think his style of play suits very well for the current version of golf. And I think he's going to win a lot of tournaments, and I think he's going to win a few majors in his career. I'm just talking betting value. I think Ludwig's odds right now compared to where they should be, I think they're out of whack. Now, what I think is going to happen, like we've seen with like a Tom Kim, is I think what's going to happen is Ludwig's not going to live up to those expectations, and then either next year or the year after, Ludwig's odds are going to be where they should be, or even possibly even lower than where they should be, and that's the time that we want to bet on them. Right now, I do not have any interest in betting on Ludwig Aubert, or however you want to pronounce his name. So, top debutant. Akshay, his shoulder that he popped out doing a fist bump on the 72nd hole last week concerns me, to be completely honest. Ludwig. Wyndham Clark, who, yes, is up and down. And I do love Wyndham. I interviewed him. He's now my second best friend next to Will Zalatoris because those are the two golfers I've interviewed. I have a future on Wyndham. his recent form does concern me a little bit. I'm taking a complete long shot for top debutant, and that is Austin Eckroat. The reason why is because there is a trend when it comes to the Masters, and you probably have heard this already. If you follow all the golfer guys on Twitter, they've probably retweeted it. I mean, like I did. If you follow me, you saw me retweet it. Or you just saw the original tweet, because it comes from Ron Kloss at PGA Splits 101, who's one of the greatest followers, one of the greatest guys to follow when it comes to golf betting Twitter. He tweeted, and I quote, PGA Splits 101, 12 of the last 12 winners of the Masters has gained at least 18 strokes tee to green in the 4 events before their Masters win. He said only 9 players in this year's field are entering the week gaining at least 18 strokes tee to green. Now, he tweeted out that list, but then he corrected it afterwards where he left one guy out. So the original 9 players he listed was Scheffler, Matsuyama, Schauffele, Lowry, Connors, Siwoo Kim, Rory McIlroy, Cameron Young, Ludwig Erberg. He then went back and corrected himself. He's like, oh, I forgot one guy. It's Austin Eckroat, who I'm betting to be the top debutant at 18-1. He's also available to win the event at 250-1. So if you want a wild long shot, I mean, I'm not betting on him to win at 251, but top debutant, I mean, the only other debutants on this list is Erberg, and that's it. So he's one of only 2 guys on this list who is a debutant. He's available at 18-1 to finish as a top debutant. He won the Cognizant Classic a few weeks ago, and he checks every box for this week. His short game is brutal. I'm not going to, lie. His short game is brutal, but his approach game has been fantastic. Should he be the favorite? No. But we're talking value. You have to recognize any time we're talking odds, especially futures, especially groups, things like that. Do I think he should be the favorite? No. Do I think he should be 18-1? No. I think he should be like 8-1. So I think there's plenty. This might be my favorite bet. If you're talking about like a long shot, anything, longer than 2-1, my favorite long shot in the entire tournament might be Austin Eckroat, top debutant at 18-1. Top amateur. Last year, everyone was on that Sargent guy. I faded him. I took Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett was the low amateur, I believe. But this year I'm going chalk for low amateur. Christo Lamprecht. I talked about him on the Sunday podcast. He is the number 1 ranked golfer in the amateur golfer in the world. I've looked into his resume a little bit more. I think he's going to wipe the field. And I believe on Sunday, I said I was going to bet on him if he's plus 150 or longer. He's available at plus 165 was the best price I saw. So I'll go Christo Lamprecht, top amateur, plus 165. Joaquin Niemann, top live golfer, plus 550. He's not the favorite. The 2 guys ranked above him are Bryson's ranked above him and not Brooks. The odds are I was looking at, he was actually slightly ahead of Brooks. Rahm, obviously. Rahm, Bryson ranked above him. I think behind Rahm, I think it should be Rahm and then very close behind him, Joaquin, if we were to use recent form as any indication. So I'll take Joaquin as the top live golfer, plus 550. Hole in one. I'm running out of steam, to be completely honest, so I'm going to wrap this up soon. Hole in one. Here's the thing about hole in one. I actually wrote an article that was a deep dive into the hole in ones at the Masters over at fansided.com/betside. Check it out if you want to go into a little bit of a deep dive on that. But let me just bring it up and I'll just verbally say it to you. There has been a total of 34 holes in one in the history of the Masters. Only 1 hole in one was recorded at the 4th hole. Only 6 holes in one were recorded at the 6th hole. And only 3 holes in one were recorded on the 12th hole. 24 of the 34 holes in one were recorded at the 16th hole. That is a slightly over 70% chance that the hole in one occurs at the 16th hole. We have seen, especially lately since I've started watching the Masters in golf, the 4th round specifically, they place the hole at a certain spot on the 16th hole where the golfers just need to hit it to a certain spot of the 15th green to the right, and it will funnel down close to the hole. We saw, I mean, the most famous example that you almost definitely saw was Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods almost got an ace on the 16th hole when he won in 2019. But if you just watch that clip, you know what I'm talking about. Golfers just aim to the right of the pin, and it funnels down towards the pin. That is why in 2022, Stewart Cink, hole-in-one on 16th hole. 2021, Tommy Fleetwood. Bryson DeChambeau, 2019, hole-in-one, 16th hole. Charlie Hoffman, 2018, hole-in-one, 16th hole. We have seen a hole-in-one. Now, to be fair, Corey Connors 2021 was on the 6th hole. But we have seen a hole-in-one. And basically every single year of the event recently, except for last year. We did not see a hole-in-one. We have seen a hole-in-one in the 6 prior Masters before last year, and not including 2020. Because 2020, I don't think they put that pin in there, because I remember betting a lot on a 4th round hole-in-one. And that 2020 year in November, they didn't put the pin in that special location where the ball funnels down towards the hole. And I remember getting pissed about that. So if we take 2020 out of the equation, and then obviously last year, before last year, there was a hole-in-one recorded in the 6 Masters prior. At minus 240 odds, which is the odds for there to be a hole-in-one, there's an implied probability of 70.59% chance of an ace being recorded. My strategy for betting on a hole-in-one, fuck just overall hole-in-one, minus 240. Fuck hole-in-one, minus 165 on the 16th hole. The way to bet on a hole-in-one is hole-in-one round 4 plus 110. There is a reason why for that specific round, which only has 50 of the top 50 people plus ties make the weekend, but it's still plus 110, is because in the 4th round, outside of 2020 November, when for some reason they switched the location of the pin, the 4th round is when they put that special pin on the 16th hole, which go watch a Tiger highlight. He didn't make an ace, but it was inches away from it. The large majority of holes in one at the Master take place in the 4th round on the 16th hole, because it's relative to other holes, it's a very easy hole to ace. So I'll take plus 110 for a hole-in-one to be recorded in the 4th round specifically. I'm going to wrap this up. This has been way too long. So that's my bet for hole-in-one. Shane Lowry is my pick for first round leader. Shane Lowry is second on the PGA Tour in first round scoring average. Number 1 is Patrick Cantlay. I would never bet Patrick Cantlay to be the first round leader at the Masters. He sucks at the Masters. Shane Lowry actually has a pretty solid history at the Masters. He also has a lot of course fit. I believe he fits that. He's one of the golfers that fits that trend. If I'm correct, let me bring it up again. But I believe he fits that trend of the golfers who have gained significant strokes over their past 4 rounds as well. I'm just trying to bring up this article. This article is the Masters. This Masters betting trend has been perfect for over a decade. Yeah, Shane Lowry does fit that list. So he fits that list. Second on the PGA Tour in round 1 scoring average, 45-1 to be the first round leader. I will take Shane Lowry as the first round leader for 45-1. Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, both of them to make the cut. Tiger Woods minus 104, Phil Mickelson plus 115. Tiger Woods hasn't missed the cut since 1996. Even last year when he was hobbled with plantar fasciitis, he still did technically make the cut, but then he had to withdraw before he teed off on Saturday because his plantar fasciitis was so bad. Everyone, including me in the past, has wanted to bet on Phil Mickelson to miss the cut the past couple of years. And then Phil Mickelson just said, go fuck yourself. I'm Phil Mickelson. Course experience is what's important at the Masters. And he finished T2 last year, T21 the year before, T55 the year before, T18 the year before. Phil Mickelson hasn't missed the cut since the 2016 Masters. So I know he's in bad form, but it's Phil Mickelson, and let's give some fucking respect to lefty Phil Mickelson. He's plus money to make the cut. Phil Mickelson, based on Augusta experience alone, is going to fucking make the cut. We're not opting out on Phil Mickelson yet. I've made that mistake in the past. I'm not making it again. Tiger to make the cut at minus 104. Phil to make the cut at plus 115. Parlay both those at plus 325. Might be my favorite bet of the entire week. Colin Morikawa to miss the cut. For the first time in his career, he lost strokes with his approach game in 2 straight events, and then he followed it up by losing strokes approach for a third time last week at the Valero Texas Open. I've never seen a golfer more out of form than Colin Morikawa, and Augusta National is not a place you want to play when you're not feeling in good form. So I'll take him to miss the cut at plus 250. Tom Kim, another guy who's in terrible form. I love Tom Kim, and he was, because he's been playing so bad, has been like not in the public eye, but he's missed the cut last week, T52 the week before, T62 the week before, and his numbers are terrible. So one of these two guys missed the cut. We're sitting in pretty profit, and I almost guarantee you one of them will. Colin Morikawa to miss the cut, Tom Kim to miss the cut. Round 1 3 balls. I'm just going to list them off because it's 40 minutes. I've been ranting for a long time. I've had a couple drinks. I'm ready to shut this down. So Sergio Garcia plus 150 against Chris Kirk and and this is the issue. And Ryan Fox. Why am I forgetting Fox? The Australian guy. What? Yeah, Ryan Fox. Thank God I got his name right, because I panicked for a second, and in my mind I thought Ryan Fox, but then there was a second part of my mind that was like, his name's not Ryan Fox. Sergio Garcia, who's actually been playing pretty good lately on Live. Obviously good Masters history, former champion, against Chris Kirk, who's been terrible, and Ryan Fox has been terrible. Wyndham Clark plus 175 against Hovland and Smith. Victor Hovland has been terrible. Cameron Smith has not been good either. Brian Harman plus 190 against Brooks Koepka and Tom Kim. I talked about Tom Kim not playing good recently, and Brooks Koepka playing with Brian Harman, with how slow Brian Harman plays. Not a good recipe for Koepka either. Fitzpatrick plus 170 against John Rahm and Nick Dunlap. Nick Dunlap doesn't have to be, talked about. He was an amateur, 2 months ago. And John Rahm, not fully convinced he'll be ready to go for the Masters, having played on Live. And Fitzpatrick, his approach game has been great the past couple weeks. I'm all in on Fitzy this week. Xander, which is the group of the day. Xander plus 230 against Schauffele and McIlroy. McIlroy historically, at least in recent years, has been terrible on Thursday in majors. And then Scotty Scheffler, let's hope he misses a couple of putts. I just think there's a ton of value on Xander at plus 230. Those are all at FanDuel. The next few I'm going to list off are all at BetMGM, if you want the best price available as of recording this podcast. Austin Eckroat plus 160 against Steven Yeager and Danny Willett. Danny Willett. Steven Yeager. I'll take Austin Eckroat for the reasons that I talked about Austin Eckroat lately. Strokes gained tee to green, phenomenal. Lamprecht, the amateur. I'll take him plus 240 against Luke List and Charles Schwartzel, because those two guys absolutely fucking suck lately. And I'm pretty high on the number 1 ranked amateur in the world. So I'll take plus 240 at the number 1 ranked amateur in the world against two fucking bums lately. Straka plus 230 against Finau and I think Mickelson here. Straka does have very good long irons. That has been one of the biggest strengths of his entire career. So plus 230. I mean, if they were all even odds, I'll actually almost take Mickelson. But at plus 230, I think there's some value in Straka with his long irons and some pretty decent history at the Masters. Patrick Reed plus 150 against Im and Kitayama. Sungjae Im has been a complete disaster lately. Terrible form, and Kitayama is not much of a threat. I'll take Reed at plus 150, former Masters champ. And then I actually am, and this is not just because I want to take Woods. Tiger Woods plus 250 against Max Homa and Jason Day. Jason Day is in terrible form. I originally wanted to bet Jason Day to win the Masters, but he's been in terrible form lately. I've been watching him closely. And Max Homa has terrible history at the Masters and is in bad form. So Woods plus 240 in the first round for a 3-ball against Homa and Day, two guys who have been in bad form, and for Homa specifically, not good history at the Masters. I'll fucking take it. I'll take Tiger plus 240 for the first round. So there you go. Those are my bets for the Masters. It's a lot of them. And then I'll recap, and then I'll shut this off, and then I'm just going to upload it. Raw footage, raw audio, no editing. Futures, Wyndham Clark to win 48-1, Hideki Matsuyama to win 28-1, Brooks Koepka to win 20-1, Russell Henley to win 70-1. And then Xander Schauffele to win 18-1. Brian Harman top 20 plus 160, top 10 Russell Henley plus 450, Matt Fitzpatrick top 5 6-1, Harris English top 30, dead heat rules apply plus 130. Austin Eckroat, top debutant, 18-1. Christo Lamprecht, top amateur, plus 165. Joaquin Niemann, top live golfer, plus 550. Hole in one round 4, plus 110. Shane Lowry, first round leader, 45-1. Tiger Woods to make the cut, minus 104. Phil to make the cut, plus 115. Parlay the two of those at plus 325. Morikawa to miss the cut at plus 250. Tom Kim to miss the cut at plus 145. And then round 1, 3 balls. We got Garcia plus 150. Clark plus 175. Harman plus 190. Fitzpatrick plus 170. Schauffele plus 230. Eckroat plus 160. Lamprecht plus 240. Straka plus 230. Reed plus 150. Woods plus 240. I love you all. Thank you so much for listening. It's going to be an early morning when my alarm goes off, and I got to start writing articles for BetSided. But that's the grind, my friends. As the great Brian Jeffer says, if you want to hoot with the Owls, you got to soar with the Eagles. Apparently, owls are night birds, and eagles are morning birds. What he says. So, if you want to hoot with the Owls at night, you got to soar with the Eagles in the morning. Basically, what he means is if you want to party at night, you got to be willing to get up early and get to work in the morning. So that's what I'm going to try to do tomorrow. So, Gambler bless in the unity of the holy Gambler. All glory in yours, almighty Hideki Matsuyama, forever and ever. Gambler bless. I'll talk to you next week to talk about whatever fucking sport we're going to talk about. So I guess NHL playoffs, I guess. I'll talk to you next week for the NHL playoffs.